Let's take a look at the data behind the best infinite decks in Marvel Snap and the latest Series 5 releases in the game. Hey, what's up, everybody? Kicker of Elves here. Hope y'all are having a fantastic day wherever you're at. Welcome to episode 7 of Marvel Snap Meta Shenanigans, the weekly show. We look at how top infinite players are shaping the Marvel Snap metagame using untapped premium data. We look at the most recent Series 5 releases and our season pass cards, as well as the viewer selected card of the week. If you want to get your card investigated on next week's show, leave a comment below letting me know which card you want me to check out, and the comment with the most likes will get featured, and we'll take a look at decks for that card. So we're using untapped premium data to understand what are the top decks at Infinite. The reason we use untapped premium data is that players in general that are going to be using untapped are going to be more competitive than the average player base. We're able to then use filters like that, like selecting things just in Infinite, certain player collection levels, to increase our confidence in the data and the likelihood that what is being played isn't just a gimmick, but is being used at scale by skilled players. That way you're not trawling through seeing like, oh, this creator posted a deck and they seem super into it. These are decks that have backing behind it, multiple people are playing, and are going to be able to be successful for you. I'm guilty of it too. Sometimes I'll post a deck that I know I love and others are just like, I can't stand Man Spider. What are we doing? So without further ado, let's dive into the top decks by win rate. So we're a week out from the OTA. I'm recording this Thursday night in the US, literally about a week out from the most recent patch. So for our data sets today, we're going to be looking at player collection level 24,000 plus. We use that filter, so we're looking at players who are likely either collection complete or competitively complete. Competitively complete meaning they're buying all the key cards for meta decks. Maybe if not a big discard game where they don't have Colonel America, but they definitely aren't, missing Maverick, for example. We are looking at just infinite only, so rank 100 plus. And in this case, because we were looking at just a week of data, I have tightened or loosened up some of the parameters a bit, and we're looking at win rate for 600 plus games. And let's not sugarcoat it, this is just completely covered in Shou-Lao. The top 3 decks by win rate are all Shou-Lao decks. And even though I think, like many of y'all, I'm getting pretty sick of the Red Dragon here, it is very important for you to understand what these lists are doing, even if you don't want to play them. Towards the end of the video, before we dive into some Kicker of Elves lore, I will show you a couple of high-performing decks that don't have Shou-Lao, so stick around for that if that's interesting to you. This over here in the top left, this is the deck. This is the Shou-Lao deck. We're trying to abuse Scarlet Spider. It's cut the Jocasta. We are just trying to play a bunch of cards, 2 cards per turn as much as possible. Have the last card we play on turn 5 be a Scarlet Spider, turn 6 Shou-Lao the Scarlet Spider, and send that over. That is a very reliable. That's a very. It is an output that is difficult to deal with because you can put Maverick and Scarlet Spider behind a Cosmo, so they can't Shadow King it, and they'll have to just like free roll their try to Shadow King and just hope they 50-50 one of the locations. That's not a reliable way to do it. And Shou-Lao is a 5/8 on top of that. So all of these cards are great. The only one I'm a little bit suspicious of is Cable. This makes what can be a very consistent deck a bit more high rolly, because if you're playing a lot of Shou-Lao mirrors, you might just be thinning their deck and getting to that. Cable might be better off as Iceman, but Cable's fine too. This version over here features Werewolf by Night, so I'm automatically a bit bigger on it. This is doing the a little bit more spell sling, I like to call it, where we've got the Joaquin Torres Falcon to make it so that our skill cards like Deafening Chord, stuff from Merlin or Clea, can proc multiple times. Lockheed, I think, is severely overrated. You're seeing Lockheed no longer being in the top Shou-Lao list. Lockheed's not doing a ton here. This could easily be like a Spider-Man or just any other 2-cost card like a Surge. Lockheed's fine if you opened it in a Series 5 pack or you just thought the card was cool. I'm not trying to dump truck all over it, but it's just not necessary here. This is also running the Stardust version of Shou-Lao to counter the Scarlet Spider. Scarlet Spider, of course, is not an on reveal, it's an activate, and it is adding its clone to another location. Stardust says, nope, can't do that. And it's featuring one of my all-time favorite cards, Prowler. So I'm higher on this list. I think it's pretty cool that we're seeing Viv Vision Clea stuff. Clea just recently got buffed in the last OTA, so it's nice to see her there too. This is at least a refreshing spin on Shou-Lao. If you can think any Shou-Lao decks are refreshing, because it's not leaning all the way into Scarlet Spider. And in doing that, it can be a little bit more clunky, but if you're getting Viv Vision buffs onto your Clea, you got your Lockheed and your Merlin down other locations, your Pew Pew and your Werewolves bouncing around. This is a little bit less linear and more, capital F fun. Another version, won't spend too much longer on this. This is another respectable thing. It's just like, it's got the Surge and the Lasher in here. It's still doing Scarlet Spider stuff, but it's giving up on like the protection from a Cosmo and the Mr. Steal Your Girl potential of a Cable here to have Lasher. Lasher is another decent Shou-Lao target. The problem with Lasher is that because it's going to afflict its power at the other location, you are overcommitting. Unless you're playing like, it's the Nexus hot location. You don't need to make your Lasher 17 power and then take 17 power away from the other location. You need to make your Scarlet Spider or Maverick 17 power at one location and then send 17 power to a different location using either a Scarlet Spider clone or Maverick's buff. At number 4 here, we've got Zombie Galacti. Glad there's something that's not featuring Shou-Lao in the top 5 over here. Zombie Galacti recently did a video on this. Other than the fact that Magic is in here and you have to play around Merlin, this is an incredibly strong list. It is very consistent. It's not high rolly with Wong and Shuri stuff. Zombie Galacti is a legitimate deck, so definitely check that out. Last but not least, before we jump on over to take a look at our recent Series 5 cards, I just want to give a quick shout out to Chamber Ramp. I've been playing, I've said I'm not the biggest ramp guy anymore, which is ironic because the first deck I used to hit Infinite and finish my climb was an Electro Ramp list back in December of 2022. First time I hit Infinite. And I wasn't big on these lists. This list is doing good. No Shou-Lao. I will say I think the Fing Fang Foom version is doing. I've been running a Fing Fang Foom version of Ramp that features Professor X that I've been enjoying quite a bit. If I continue to have good results with that, maybe I'll do a video. But yeah, top decks, it's a bunch of Shou-Lao stuff, and then Zombie Galacti and the Infinite are holding up the rear here. This is what you're going to have to be looking out for on the meta. This is going to be everywhere if you're trying to climb to Infinite or trying to push yourself up on the Infinite rank leaderboard. Let's take a look at Linley Iron Fist. I was pretty high on Linley in my review of him. I gave him a 4 out of 5 stars specific to the list that he goes in. I had a great tear with Linley, but this is why it's very important for us to check data and not just rely on your own experiences, because he is doing very poorly at a negative 0.2 cube rate and a 46.1% win rate. This card is practically a buff target. Cougar and Iris, 2 top players in the world who have kind of popularized and really been champions of the move many archetype, like your Hydra Stomper move base list, aren't high on the card. Ironically, the most play he's gotten has been in like copy lists. I haven't done a ton of like the Bastion V-Hand or like bouncy sort of lists, but there's potential for him there. I think honestly at this at these stats, he's probably a buff target. So if you're wondering if you need to go out there and get Linley, unless you are a diehard, like you just love to have different ways to play the move many lists that aren't necessarily the most competitive version, or like a Bastion copy gamer, probably don't need them. Fin Fang Foom, on the other hand, is hit with a pretty big splash. It is an above 50% win rate and positive cubes. I think as Fin Fang Foom gets away from his release week and people stop expecting him, because this is the new hotness card, I think he's probably going to continue to get better and better. This is a shoe-in in every ramp list and every Hella list. I have been a big fan of Fin Fang Foom. I actually picked up the Rian Gonzalez variant here for him because I've just been enjoying him that much. And traditionally, I'm not a big ramp or Hella guy. So I still think, this is kind of like Linley, and that like it's going to go, and this is going to every single deck. You have to, do you like Man Spider list? Do you like ramp list? Do you like Hell list? If the answer to all those is no, you probably don't need Fin Fang Foom, but he is keyword gigantic. Hopping over to our season pass cards. Shou-Lao, since the latest patch, is still just an absolute menace. 53% win rate, average cubes 0.23 at a almost 31% popularity. The popularity has gone down. I think a lot of players who hit Infinite using Shou-Lao are just like, I'm done with this. It's kind of a difficult situation to be in because we know he's going to get nerfed. We know he's going to get nerfed. So it's almost like it's a double-edged sword where, like, if you want to really, really climb a lot right now, you could put the time in and just grind out Shou-Lao, you know, play this deck over here, one of these decks, preferably this one. But it's almost like you're putting a lot of effort into a deck that's not going to be as strong in 3 weeks from now when they inevitably nerf this card. And it's tough to say, are they going to nerf this into Oblivion? Is it going to get the Mr. Fantastic first steps where, like, those lists just don't quite exist anymore? Or is it going to be a lighter here and they're going to bring it down to 5-6 and keep the +3? We don't know. So it's kind of a rock and a hard place. Like, yeah, if you want to hit Infinite, if you are struggling and you have the season pass, I still think the season pass is incredible value regardless of whether or not the card is good. Even when it was Weapon X on sale, the value from the season pass is incredible if you play a lot of Marvel Snap. But yeah, this card is going to make your Infinite climb a lot easier, especially now that we have settled more on the list and, like, know that, like, oh, Werewolf by Night is maybe not the best version. I still love the Werewolf versions, but it's a Strelwyn Spider thing. Now, our Super Premium Season Pass, even after it's buffed to 3-4, again, we're looking at data from the latest patch, it cannot crack a positive win rate. Some Ronin lists are just cutting this even. This card cannot get it together. Minus, negative 0.11 cubes, 47% win rate, 2.7% popularity. I am happy that they put the weaker of the two cards as the Super Premium Season Pass. It would be a very bad look if Shou-Lao was the Super Premium Season Pass card, not Dragon of the Moon. But based on the stats, this is not a card you need to be picking up. Now, let's hop over to our viewer card of the week. Our viewer card, again, if you want to get your card checked out and look at some decks on next week's video, I'll leave a comment below saying which card I should check out, comment with the most likes win. We have got Phoenix Force. This comes from the Real Good Gus, who said would love to hear about Phoenix Force next week. Because I feel like you've been commenting on, like, the past 4 or 5 episodes, and this time it happened. So I'm happy we could talk about Phoenix Force for you. Phoenix Force, I real quick, I think of Phoenix Force, I think, like, that was the fastest they buffed a season pass card. I want to say this is like July of 2023, and this was like a 5-6 or something, and they're like, this is not doing good. So speaking of not doing good, Phoenix Force, I upped the date range here to last 30 days because this is not a brand new card, so we have a little bit more of a range here. And kind of as predicted, Phoenix Force is seeing play in, like, Nimrod, Black Panther, Zola, Adamantium Infusion, like, destroy sort of list. It is like Adamantium Infusion seems like it's kind of eaten this card's lunch, and Phoenix Force a bit of a backup. But this list here, very great with Fastball Special, Adamantium Infusion, Kid Omega stuff in here. This is the more traditional Fastball Special line. I like this list. This is very similar to, like, or if anything, just exactly the same as the kind of seminal Jet Phoenix Force Revive list where you're trying to blow up Zombie Giant Man with Kid Omega, and then you're ramping out the Zombie Giant Man, you're bringing it back with Phoenix Force, and Firehair is doing that too. Very cool play lines, very difficult combo lists. Dies to Shadow King, so many of these cards. Kid Omega, your enabler. Firehair, a big person there. Even Superior Spiring for Energy Sheet just get free rolled by Deafening Chord, and this list also hates Cosmo, and the top deck in the game runs Deafening Chord and Cosmo and Spider Ham, so there's just so much disruption. So Phoenix Force kind of tough to pull off now. I see it in a Man Spider list here. Again, the sample size. This is really the only deck with a decent sample size and pretty solid win rate, honestly. And as we keep getting lower, it's just not enough for me to be confident in the stats. But, like, the Man Spider, that's kind of a cool idea. I think, like, Zola-ing the Man Spider can get a little bit risky just of, like, how the interaction is. I think you're much more safer copying a Man Spider, but this is all cool stuff. I think Phoenix Force is a legitimate card to be playing. I think a lot of the problem comes from, like, how Shou-Lao gets to free roll tech like Spider Ham, like Cosmo, like Iceman, like Deafening Chord, and that's going to mess with this kind of deck very much. So before we go, I also wanted to show, here's just a quick view at decks that do not include Shou-Lao the Undying for a quick view. Zombie Galacti, very reliable, does not need Shou-Lao, and can come in and just go over the top of it, go wide in a way that they can't deal with. And then Chamber Ramp, hopefully this is able to get updated and we can get show the might of Fing Fang Foom in here because I've really enjoyed Fing Fang Foom and Ramp. It's kind of a tech card against the other list we got here, the Galactus Fallen One Man Spider style list. A lot of times Man Spider Taskmaster, they're relying on winning those two locations. If one of these cards is in the front row, and it almost always is going to be, and you Fing Fang Foom it, you got that gobbled up. So closing thoughts on the meta right now. This is the third week in a row it's been a Shou-Lao meta, even after the OTA, which nerfed its best friend Merlin, which was kind of a nothing burger of a nerf. It's not really going to change a lot of stuff here and won't until Shou-Lao himself is directly nerfed. We're just looking at Shou-Lao, Shou-Lao, Shou-Lao. So if you want to climb easy mode, do Shou-Lao, take advantage of it. The developers put it in the game. If you're done with Shou-Lao, Galacti and Ramp are very legitimate options, or you can get a little bit wild and check out some Phoenix Force gameplay. So thank you all very much for watching. Check out the video below for a really cool deck featuring Man Spider and Fing Fang Foom that Cougar used to hit top 8 in the world. Did a deck out on that yesterday. That was a lot of fun. If you want more weekly in-depth meta reports, card reviews that understand the value of tokens in your account, deck guides, put just this week alone 3 deck guides, you're in the right place. Hit that like and subscribe button. Join in on the Kicker of Elves channel. We've got tons of great content for you on the way. Thank you all so much for the support. Like the video, comment. Let me know which card you want me to see featured next week. Comment the most likes wins, or even if you just want to talk about something totally unrelated, love to hear it. Now, for those of y'all, the real ones, stick around to the very end here. We're going to take a quick peek and talk about some Kicker of Elves lore. Going full screen for the lore segment. Now, like every week, we go back to the Wall of Trinkets, which is just a setup that I've had for quite some time, even before I started doing YouTube, of stuff that is of personal importance to me. And this week, I'm not even going to do the fade away, I've already grabbed it. We're going to talk about the Yu-Gi-Oh card Last Turn. Now we're going to read this. I'm kidding, we're not going to read this. This is a giant paragraph. Remember when I listened to Ben Brode's GDC talk last week, and he was talking about not having more than 8 words on the screen. Snap's kind of gotten away from that. I mentioned that on Snap Judgments last week, and Not Mighty Answers. I think it's great that it's happened. And yes and no. I think it was sometimes constraints can keep things elegant. At the rate we're going, we're going to end up with paragraphs of text, but that's not what we're talking about. Today, what we're talking about is the card Last Turn. This is the only Yu-Gi-Oh card I still have. Now, I'm a 90s kid. I did collect Pokemon cards, but I was a bit too young or just wasn't into card games at the time where it was Pokemania. But Yu-Gi-Oh hit it right at the right time. My whole school was super into this, even if they weren't anime fans. I liked anime, I like Dragon Ball Z, still do, but Yu-Gi-Oh just hit. This was the card that I credit to me winning a local tournament when I was young. It was mostly middle schoolers there. It was all middle schoolers or late elementary school, 5th, 6th, 7th grade. I remember going there and I was playing against somebody who I didn't shuffle their deck. You're supposed to shuffle your opponent's decks. And I can tell because in their opening hand, if you were a Yu-Gi-Oh player, had the Kaiba structure deck, they had Lord of D, Flute of Summoning Dragon, and 2 blue eyes on the field right away. And I was like, I should have shuffled their deck. For those of you that are that's a perfect example of me being younger and not wanting to do confrontation. If you're worried about confrontation, go out there, confront some people. You can't hide and make everybody happy. You're strong. You can deal with the confrontation. You can overcome that anxiety. I wish I did, but what I didn't do was that, and it came down to using this card for us to go to a stalemate. I'm not going to read this whole card, but basically it's a card you can only play when it's during your opponent's turn and when you've pretty much close to having no health left, close to no hit points left, no life points left. And it basically forces the game into a stalemate where everybody gets rid of their cards. You pick a monster on your side of the field and they summon one monster from their deck and have them attack, and the winner of that attack wins the duel, or it turns into a draw. Now, it wasn't as climactic as that for me, because it ended up just being, we had a judge come over and was basically this sounds too confusing, so we're just going to say you both draw. And then so we both moved on to the next phase. He played a friend of mine and lost to him. I played somebody else, and me and that friend of mine were in the finals together, and I ended up beating him with the Magic and Trap card of Exodia combo. So even though the final combo was what won me that tournament when I was 12 or whatever, and I remember that fondly, it was the Last Turn card that got me out of the tight spot. I believed in the heart of the cards, and even though I didn't shuffle my opponent's deck and they effectively cheated to get into a very strong, advantageous position, I used this to claw my way back to a draw and eventually hit victory. So that was very cool. I still keep last turn around just for those memories. And they're cool Greeks, it's got to be some kind of like Greek myth, sort of Roman myth or whatever sort of thing. But yeah, very cool. So yeah, did you guys watch Yu-Gi-Oh? I recently rewatched the entire Yugi vs Kaiba Battle City battle. There's like a 90-minute like supercut of it on YouTube. I watched the whole thing and it's like, man, this game is insane. I'd love to see a Marvel Snap anime. Now I'm in super rambly mode, but thank you all for sticking around for the Elves lore again. Catch you in next week's episode. Check the video below for a really cool deck. I said that earlier. Now I realized I was in sign-off mode, but the video is totally not going to be there because it's not the end of the video. Maybe I'll add a card. Probably won't, but that's a funny little Easter egg for folks who got to the end. So thanks for watching. Catch you in the next episode. This has been Marvel Snap Meta Shenanigans in the lore section 2, and I'm Kicker of Elves. Hope you all are having a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.